listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good afternoon, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Friday, July the 26th. We have a breaking news audio as Tua Tagovailoa. The national nightmare is over. Tua Tagovailoa has signed a long-term contract extension with the Miami Dolphins for 4 years, $212 million. And we're going to talk about that on today's show. As you know, he was a full participant in practice today, so some people thought that might have been a sign something was going down. And, you know, just before 4 o'clock, the news broke. Tua and the Dolphins have agreed to terms in the contract. So we'll talk about that on today's show. But first, today's show is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and all the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? Don't worry. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home. And yes, they ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is the spot Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. Also, a big shout out to our friends at FinHeaven.com. Everyone go to FinHeaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. A shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins Fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, Audible, Google Play, subscribe. When news breaks like this, we break in with a breaking news audio. Later on tonight, Josh and Aaron, they're going to dive more into the Tua contract with a new episode of the Same Old Dolphin Show. So check that out Friday evening. And we have you covered pretty much each and every day after practice with rundowns of the practices that took place on the field. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. And if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button. Okay, here's the details. Tua signed a big money contract extension with the Dolphins today. 4 years, $212 million, $167 million of it guaranteed, which comes out to an annual salary of $53.1 million, putting him slightly ahead of Jared Goff and only behind Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence when it comes to average annual salary. So when it comes to average annual salary, he's the third highest paid quarterbacks. But when it comes to total guaranteed money, the $167 million that is all guaranteed, he's the eighth highest paid quarterback in the NFL. So average annual salary, third highest paid, total guaranteed money, eighth highest paid. And we don't have all the exact details of the structure of this contract. Did they give him a raise this year a little bit? Did they, shrink his salary cap number this year and kick out some of the money the next year and the year after? We don't have all the details, but Jeff Darlington of ESPN, who's very tied in, said, without seeing all the details, it's a tad more per year than what Jared Goff got by $0.1 million. But it's a tad less of the guaranteed money by $3 million than what Jared Goff got. So essentially, Tua got the Jared Goff contract. And Miami did not reset the market here. They gave Tua a market level contract, which is all he was asking for from the beginning. They finally gave it to him. And they gave him essentially something eerily close to what Jared Goff got a couple months ago. And remember, Jared Goff signed a 4-year contract. He did not get that fifth year. Lawrence got the fifth year. I think last year Herbert and Joe Burrow got the fifth year. Goff got a 4-year. Tua got a 4-year 1 here. So he essentially got the same contract as Jared Goff. I got to be honest. The first thing when I saw these numbers, I go, that's a great deal for the Dolphins. But the first question that popped in my head is, why was Chris Grier fighting this? Like, if this is all it took, this is a great team deal. And he signed before Jordan Love, too, before Love, got his record-breaking deal, which everyone expects him to get here the next few days. This should have, if this is all it took to sign Tua to an extension, I have no idea what Chris Grier was thinking. This should have been done a while ago because this is a fair deal. It's a market deal. They're never going to get him for less than a market deal. And it's a fair contract, 4 years, $167 million guaranteed. People get caught up into 53.1. The annual average salary really means nothing. It's all about the guaranteed money. And when it comes to guaranteed money, he's the eighth highest paid quarterback in the league. And when Love signs his deal here soon, he'll be ninth. And when Prescott signs his deal next offseason, he'll fall to 10th. And who knows if Pat Mahomes does that's not a big deal. So it's a fair deal. It's a good deal for the Dolphins. And, it's funny. So Wednesday, the first practice of training camp, Tua did some of the drills, didn't do all the drills. And Thursday did nothing. He just, I ain't practicing. He didn't practice. And today, he goes out there and practice on Friday, which I will talk about later on in the show. And he took every snap with the first team. He did all the 11-on-11 drills, which he did no 11-on-11 drills in any of the OTAs, in any of the mini camps. And he took 2 Wednesday, but they're handoffs, so it's not really like he did any. And today he did every one of them. He was throwing the ball, and he wasn't good in practice today. He wasn't great in practice today. He was sensational in practice today. So there were some rumblings. People like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. You're going to not practice or do a half practice, and then you're going to do a full practice? Like this, there's no logic here. So there were some rumblings out there that something might go down today because it would have made no sense for him to go out there and practice in full after what happened the past 2 days. So yeah, this is why. This probably was agreed to in the morning. It was probably signed in the morning, and it probably just wasn't announced until after practice. So, and again, if you're a fan of the Dolphins, you cannot complain about this contract. I don't care how you feel about Tua. If you are the biggest Tua fan, if you're the biggest Tua quote-unquote hater, this is a fair, good contract. Again, I don't know what the hell Chris Grier had his head up his ass for, dragging his feet on this. If this was all it took, he should have done this weeks or months ago. This is as good as it gets to sign Tua. For the Dolphins, signing him was a must. You cannot go through a training camp and him not practicing some days or half practicing others. They had to get beyond this. They had to get beyond that. And signing him now, you have your first practice with the fans on Sunday. That place is going to be like a rock concert. Those fans are going to be going nuts when he runs out in the field. So having this done before that, because the last thing you want is Tua standing on the sideline not practicing Sunday and fans starting to boo and be mad and start chanting stuff. Nobody wanted that. That's not good for the organization. It's not good. It's just not good. So that's not going to happen now. Like I said, it's going to be a rock concert when he runs out there on the field. But they needed to get this contract done. It's only 4 years, so it's not like you're tied to him forever. And I'm sure once we get to the nitty-gritty and see all the innards of the contract, I'm sure there's an out after year 2 or after year 3. Who knows? So if, God forbid, this doesn't work out the way we want it to work out, they can move on without taking a crazy cap hit. I'm sure they're going to be smart about this, and I'm sure maybe that was the holdup, actually. Who knows? But this contract gives the Dolphins the best chance to win something of substance in the next few years. Yes, Tua must improve. He must get better late in the year in December and January games. He's got to play. He must improve when he plays in cold weather. Outside of the game versus the Bills a couple years ago, he hasn't played well in cold weather. Like, there's things he needs to improve. But this contract needed to get done now. So the black cloud hanging over training camp, the entire organization. So Mike McDaniel and every player isn't asked about this every day at training camp, which is just a cut. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's behind us now. And the Dolphins can move forward into this 2024 season where they have a very good chance to have a special season. And the other thing here, I'll say here to sort of wrap this up, everyone's on the clock now. Tua is no longer a rookie. He's no longer, he's beyond the rookie deal. Mike McDaniel's going into year 3. Chris Grier seems like he's been here forever. They're literally, now they already were before this deal, but this deal sort of cements it. They are literally, all 3 of those guys, Grier, McDaniel, Tua, tied at the hip. They are all on the clock as of Friday, July 22nd, 2024. They got a window here to win. And if there's no winning, And it ain't about, getting in as a 6 or 7 seed. Making the playoffs is nice. We're beyond that. Making the playoffs isn't the goal. It's expected. It's about winning AFC East, the AFC East title, and winning in the playoffs, winning playoff games, even as a wild card. Say you don't win the AFC East. Fine. Get in the playoffs, win a playoff game. Their jobs are all on the line. They got 3 to 4 years now to win. It's win, win, win. Mike McDaniel, everyone loves him. Funny at the press conferences, likable guy. Great. Win. The quarterback, he deserved this contract. He got this contract. He's got life-changing money for him, his family, his kids. Great. Win. Chris Grier, win. That's all this is about now. This is behind us, and now it's all about winning on the field. Zero excuses. Again, great contract. I think it's a great day for the Dolphins, honestly. Again, I've said it on previous shows this week. Not the biggest Tua, fan. I mean, he's fine. I think he's good. I think he's a good quarterback. I think you can win with a good quarterback. We saw Joe Flacco get hot for a month in January, win a Super Bowl. I think that's kind of what Tua is. Joe Flacco was never Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Rodgers, or Breeze up in that category, but he won a Super Bowl because he was good enough, and you give him enough weapons, you give him a running game, you give him an offensive line, and you give him a strong defense, and he gets hot for a month, you win. That's kind of what the Dolphins got to do. Give Tua weapons, he's got weapons. Give him a running game, he's got a running game. Offensive line, okay, that might not. That's a work in progress, maybe. And then we'll see what Anthony Weaver can do on the other side of the ball. But if he gets hot for a month late in the year, you can win a Super Bowl with Tua. Anyone who thinks, once again, I don't care if you love Tua or hate him. If you can't win a Super Bowl with Tua, you're nuts. You don't know the NFL. I'm not saying he's going to win one. I'm saying you can win one. Yes, everything around him's got to be, not perfect, but it's got to be in working order, which with some quarterbacks, that's not the case. But with him, it is. And the Dolphins know that. And that's what it is. So I think it's a good contract. It's essentially the Jared Goff contract. And the night Jared Goff signed, if you would have said to any fan of the Dolphins, Tua is going to get that same deal, you would have said, great, that's a fair deal, no problem. And that's where we are today. Took a little longer than it should have, but it is July, so Tua's pretty much got a full training camp. The first 2 days, whatever, is what it is. We're beyond that now. And let's see what they can do here moving forward. Okay, in other news here, and I'm going to try to go through this not super quick, but the Dolphins worked out linebacker Shaq Quarterman on Friday. Shaq Quarterman played for the University of Miami, was a superstar at the University of Miami, 4th-round pick by Jacksonville in 2020. Really hasn't played much for Jacksonville. In year 1, as a rookie, took 0 snaps on defense. Year 2, took 142 snaps. Year 3, only 21 snaps on defense. And last year, only 8 snaps. So year 2, he had 142 snaps. Outside of that, 0, 21, and 8. He didn't translate from the college player everyone thought he was to the pro, but with no Jaylen Phillips, no Bradley Chubb, and no David Long right now at practice, they're all on PUP. Dolphins are a little thin at linebacker, so they worked him out. Whether they sign him or not, who knows? If they do, they probably just feel they need to add a linebacker just to get through these practices until some of the guys come back off PUP. So it would really just be a training camp body, but they worked out linebacker Shaq Quarterman. Mike McDaniel at his press conference prior to practice asked about Emmanuel Ogbah and why he wore the orange jersey. Yesterday at practice, we all know the orange jersey is a sign that he was the best player at practice the day before. So Ogbah signed on Tuesday, first practice Wednesday. Next practice got the orange jersey. Mike McDaniel said it wasn't charity to give him the orange jersey. It was one of, if not the best practices I've seen from him since I've been here. So, Mike McDaniel pleased with the Ogbah signing. So that's a good signing there, or a good sign there to see. When Mike McDaniel was asked about Odell Beckham Jr. starting the year on PUP, he said the plan is from, what was that? He said it was the plan as it's from, and that his injury is not from something recent, something that they knew about for a while. And the reason he wants him on PUP is because he doesn't want any setbacks with a player at this time. Because a setback now with an injury this time of year is problematic for the entire season. And he's right. If Odell Beckham needs a week or 2 or 3 to get 100% or as close to 100% as possible, and then he comes back mid-August or late August, and he's all set, ready to go. He gets out there, practices, he's ready for week 1, and he plays. If you don't put him on PUP now and he starts training camp, less than 100% with a nagging injury of some sort, and he tweaks the injury like 1 week into camp, then he's got to miss a couple weeks. And trying to get him reintegrated back into the offense, it's a lot. So starting him on PUP makes sense. And I actually like Mike McDaniel's answer. I think it makes a lot of sense. Asked about Tyreek Hill. Mike McDaniel said Tyreek Hill has grown into the leadership role of being perhaps the best player in the league. So high praise to Tyreek Hill. And again, we saw earlier this week, Jeff Darlington on the Pat McAfee show say Tyreek, his new contract, if he gets one in Miami, will come after the season, not now. That's what he believes. We'll see. And I think if Tyreek does get a big money extension in Miami, it's going to be because Mike McDaniel is like his biggest advocate. Mike McDaniel loves Tyreek Hill, and he is his biggest advocate and will be in his corner. And Mike McDaniel was asked about Devon Achane. He said he's become a pro, both with diet and strength. It's really cool to see. He said a taste of success. Unfortunately, he's not satisfied with that. And I will say this right now. I am very high on Devon Achane heading into 2024. I think by the end of September, Achane is going to be the number one running back on this team. Not because Raheem Mostert's not great. Everyone loves Raheem Mostert. I just think Achane's that special. Achane, if he can stay healthy, which I know last year he got hurt like 4 times. Once in training camp, once after like week 3 or 4. Then he was on PUP for a month, and then he came back. He got hurt again. If he can stay healthy, which I know he's put on some weight this offseason, that should help. But even putting on weight, he still gets a little dinged up every now and then. I love him. I think he's a special player, has a special skill set. So that's where I am with Achane. Okay, let's get to some quick training camp notes of what happened on the practice field, which seems now with the news of Tua almost secondary. But like I said, Tua was sensational in the practice. He was throwing BBs all over the place. So the first set of notes is from Omar Kelly and Barry Jackson. The defense, first pass, Tua hits Tyreek for 70-yard touchdown. The defense wasn't expecting a pass because they didn't know. They thought he was still just doing handoffs in the 11-on-11s, but he caught him by surprise. It's fun. It's training camp. Hit a 70-yard touchdown bomb to Tyreek Hill over Jaylen Ramsey. He also hit a check down to Achane, and he hit River Craycraft for a 25-yard reception. He also threaded a seam to a 20-yard pass on Hill that would have gone longer if it was like a real practice. This was only 7-on-7s at that point. Aaron Brewer had 2 bad snaps. Aaron Brewer's had a rough start to training camp. Linebacker Jordan Brooks had a sack on Tua. Rookie Mohamed Kamara sacked Skylar Thompson in the final session of 11-on-11. The top standout on the offensive line versus the defensive line was Quentin Bell. Quentin Bell's had a great start to training camp. I cannot wait till the pads go on. I want to see how Quentin Bell looks next week because this first week he has been like a surprise. So Quentin Bell, if you're going Sunday in person to watch, find Quentin Bell on your scorecard. Keep an eye on him. He has had a great first 3 days of training camp. Defensive tackle, Isaiah Mack pushed around left tackle Patrick Paul to stop Jaylen Wright. And then the next play, Paul had a false start. That's the second day in a row of the offensive line having false starts. Emmanuel, way too many false starts. Emmanuel Agba had a nice tackle at the line of scrimmage. Later, Agba flushed out Tua out of the pocket. Grayson Murphy, another undrafted rookie to keep an eye on, had a sack, and he beat Keon Smith. Raheem Mostert did not practice. And David Long had a sleeve on his left leg, which maybe is why he's on PUP. We don't know. Tyreek Hill joined practice for 7-on-7s after missing the first 5 periods. No big deal. Chop Robinson. This is very interesting. This is from Barry Jackson and Omar Kelly. Chop Robinson is a pass rusher. Moves. He just, he's special. There's a huge difference, they said, between how Chop Robinson moves and the rest of Miami's edge rushers. Just the speed, the quickness, the first step. He's just great. And the second best edge rusher so far this camp has been Quentin Bell, who played wide receiver in college. Maybe that's why he's more fluid in his moves. But Chop Robinson is a pass rusher. They said, he's special. He moves at someone who's at like a whole different speed. The problem with Chop is someone when he has to play the run, that's where he struggles. Because during 11-on-11 drills, tight end Tanner Connor put Robinson on his ass, moving him far out of the way on a left side run. And Tanner Connor's not a blocker. Tanner Connor's like Mike Gesicki light. He's known for a pass catcher. He don't block anybody from a tight end. So the fact that a guy who can't really block a tight end is like moving Chop Robinson around easily in the run game, that's something Chop's got to work on. Now, again, most of the rookies who are edge rushers coming in the league have this problem. So it's not just Chop. I guarantee, who the Rams took, Who else took edge rushers in round 1? I think the Vikings took whoever. Those other edge rushers are probably having the same issues because stopping the run is more of something that you got to work on and learn for rookies. But as a pass rusher, Chop Robinson special. So that's the takeaway. Special pass rusher still has to work on run defense. Receiver Anthony Schwartz, he had a nice showcase of his speed in the one-on-ones where he roasted Sirianni Neal. Eric Uzakama ran the wrong route for Tua Tagovailoa and failed to bring in a ball for Mike White on back-to-back reps. When Eric Uzakama ran the wrong route, Tua threw up his arms in confusion. Rookie Syracuse cornerback Isaiah Johnson jammed new wide receiver Tyreek McGowan out of bounds, showcasing his impressive physicality. Cornerback Nick Needham tipped a Gavin Hardison pass in the air, but Anthony Walker dropped the interception. Walker wore the orange jersey today for his great practice yesterday. Former Hurricane, okay, we already know that. River Craycraft caught a touchdown pass from Skylar Thompson at the end of practice, who beat Sirianni Neal. Sirianni Neal claimed River Craycraft pushed him off, but the referees did not agree. So that's the first set of notes. Now from David Furones of the Sun Sentinel, who just was, again, raving about Tua Tagovailoa, who everyone was there today. Again, not good, not great, sensational. Tagovailoa had an efficient 7-on-7 period to start Friday's drills. The highlight was a deep connection to River Craycraft as he broke free from a bunch set on the side. Rookie running back Devon Achane made an impressive leaping catch over the middle on a slant from out wide, which he said he would do, which he said in OTAs that he wants to line up out wide more and be more in the passing game. In the 7-on-7s, Tua hit Tyreek Hill, who beat Sirianni Neal. He also hit Julian Hill, Braxton Berrios, Alec Ingold, Jaylen Wright, and Eric Uzakama. Skylar Thompson in the final period went over the middle, hit Malik Washington for a touchdown, and then he hit a long touchdown to River Craycraft as well. Mike White had nearly had a deep completion to Jaylen Waddle, but Nick Needham broke it up in coverage. Kendall Fuller sniffed out a screen pass from Tua to Waddle and blew it up after the catch without tackling anybody, obviously. There were back-to-back plays where linebacker Jordan Brooks and defensive tackle Calais Campbell pressured the quarterback, and then edge rusher Chop Robinson had another pressure right after that. Cam Smith had a good pass breakup on Mike White. In the one-on-ones, Jordan Poyer batted down a pair of passes. Jordan Brooks had tight coverage on Achane, and it still resulted in the catch to the sideline. Jaylen Wright later left Jordan Brooks in the dust on an outside move at the line. Elijah Campbell, who had an interception yesterday, had a good pass breakup on Chris Brooks. Channing Tindall, he deflected a pass against Jeff Wilson Jr. In the one-on-ones, Patrick Paul laid out linebacker Cam Brown on a rep. Zach Sealer was seen breezing past Robert Jones. Probably the most concerning line I've said in this entire show. Zach Sealer was seen breezing past Robert Jones because there's a chance Robert Jones might be starting. Mario Kendricks won a rep against Jason Hines. Let's see here. Newdolph, okay, orange jersey again. Nick Needham tipped up a Skylar Thompson pass that Walker nearly intercepted. Grayson Murphy had a pressure that could have been a strip sack. Offensive lineman Keon Smith and outside linebacker Cam Brown got tangled up. Didn't lead to a fight, though. And no Armstead at this practice either. And then for David Furones here to wrap this up, stock up Tua Tagovailoa, who was just sensational, as I said, and stock down Aaron Brewer had multiple botched snapped exchanges with Tua, both in the shotgun and under center. So that's got to be cleaned up there. But the big news of today, Tua, big money contract extension, 4 years, $212 million, $167 million guaranteed, $53.1 million annually. Once the details come out, we'll dive into that. Later on this Friday evening, Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphins show, will be back. They'll be talking about this more. If you're listening on Saturday, once you're done listening to this, listen to Josh and Aaron, same old Dolphins show, hear what they got to say. But it's over. The contract's been signed. Tua is the quarterback moving forward. They had to do it. Again, don't know what Chris Grier was waiting on. This contract's very team-friendly, I think, when you look at the other contracts being passed out to quarterbacks. So congratulations to Tua. Congratulations to the Dolphins. Now we can focus on the 2024 season. It's still only July. Let's have a strong training camp here. Nobody get hurt. And prepare for Jacksonville week 1 so we can kick their butts. All right, that's all for today's show. Be sure to check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, threads at DolphinsTalk. Wherever you listen to this podcast, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And folks, thank you for listening. We always thank you for listening. Without you, there would be no us, because thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to listen to this podcast. And as always, we must still put an end to highway profanity.